Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the life of Peter. And today we're in John 21. Last time we were together, Peter and John heard from Mary Magdalene that the tomb was empty, and they ran to the tomb. John got there faster. Peter went all the way in. And John said of himself that he came to faith. He believed, he saw and believed. And one would suppose that Peter does as well. But Peter has business with Jesus that John does not have because John was at the cross. John was given stewardship of Jesus' own mother. Peter wasn't there. Peter's last contact with Jesus was when their eyes met after he had denied him 3 times. And they've got unfinished business. Now, Jesus has appeared a second time to them in John 20 behind the locked door, and they were all there except for Thomas, of course, and breathed on them and said, receive the Spirit, and tells them he's given them power, he's given them a mission, and so he meets with them then. But after this, and Peter says, I'm going fishing. And John tells us this is the third time that Jesus appeared to his apostles. We don't know how many times in those weeks, nearly 7 weeks that Jesus was appearing to people, how much time they actually spent with him, and how many times they saw him. But this is the third time. So Peter is not in Jerusalem anymore. He's in Galilee, Sea of Tiberias, which is the Sea of Galilee. Um, John here, like Luke does, uses the Roman term. Why would he use a Hebrew term? Jerusalem's been destroyed now for 30 years when he's writing this. Um, so they're back to the Sea of Galilee and they're fishing. They're back doing what they were doing when Jesus called them. We have come full circle. And John intends us to understand that. Come full circle. Simon Peter says, I'm going fishing. And they go out fishing and they fish all night. They don't catch anything. As they're coming back into the shore, there's somebody on the beach. And he says, did you catch anything? No. Well, cast your nets on the other side and you'll find a catch. And they have the repetition of the miracle of Luke 5. And John is the first one to recognize who it is that's on the beach. And he says it's the Lord. Peter gets it too. And he puts on his garment because he was stripped from fishing. And it says he throws himself into the sea. This is the third time Peter leaves his boat, you know. Peter left his boat in Luke 5 to follow Jesus. He left his boat to walk on water, and now he's going to leave his boat for the last time and not look back. It's his leitmotif. It's his theme. That's what he does, you know. He leaves his boat to follow Jesus. Um, and he's the one who pulls up the fish. He's the one who pulls the fish to shore single-handedly. 100 yards away, he was dragging a net full of fish. 153 fish. That's more than 153 pounds of fish. I mean, it could have been 500-600 pounds of fish. And he's got this rush of adrenaline. You know, he's had his spinach. He's just so riveted by Jesus' presence. He's so thrilled. There's a magnetic pull between Jesus and Peter. He cannot be anywhere else but where Jesus is. So he throws himself into the sea. And yet there's some unfinished business between the two of them, and Jesus knows this. And so they have a private conversation at the end of 21, verse 15. It's the last thing that John tells us in his gospel. It's important for him to tell this story about his dear friend, about his brother, about Peter, lest we think that this was never resolved between the two of them. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? I think he means more than these fish. I don't think Jesus is saying, do you love me the best? How that would just reinforce the ridiculousness of them arguing who's the best. He means more than this, more than fishing. You keep going back to your boat. Do you love me more than this? More than these fish? And he said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, Tend my lambs. And he said to him again a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And he said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And he said to him, Shepherd my sheep. And he said to him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was grieved because he said to him a third time, Do you love me? And he said to him, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, Tend my sheep. And then he says, Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were younger, you used to gird yourself and walk wherever you wished to go. When you grow old, you're going to stretch out your hands and someone else is going to gird you and take you where you don't want to go. Now, he said this signifying by what kind of death Peter would glorify God. And when Jesus had spoken this, he said to him, Follow me. Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following him, the one who had leaned back on his breast at the supper, and said, Lord, uh, who is the one who betrays you? And Peter, seeing him, said to Jesus, Lord, what about him? And Jesus said to him, If I want him to remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. This saying went out among the brethren that the disciple would not die, but Jesus didn't say to him that he wouldn't die, only if I want him to remain till I come. What is that to you? This is the disciple who bears witness of these things and who wrote these things, and we know his witness is true. There were many things that Jesus did, which if they were written in detail, I suppose even the world itself could not contain the books which were written. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And I don't think he understands it in the moment, but Jesus is giving him the opportunity to affirm his love for him 3 times. That's not, that's not a coincidence. Jesus is giving him the opportunity to undo the deed. And in the text, and John, of course, every word is chosen. Every crossed T, every dotted I is there because the Holy Spirit put it there. But John is so careful about the vocabulary words he uses. And he has Peter say the word phileo, the family connection. And he has Jesus use the word agape to communicate that Peter is holding back a bit. And it's not because he doesn't love Jesus. It's because we know why. We know why. We know him. We know what he's feeling. We know that he doesn't feel worthy to abandon himself to what he feels about Jesus because he's not worthy of proximity to Jesus. We know he feels that way. And finally, he says the right thing. He says, You know everything. He says, You know what's in here. You know that, you don't have to ask me because you know what's here. And so Jesus, his response is basically, Okay, you're right. I do know everything. Now let me tell you what's going to happen to you. You're going to be arrested and you're going to be martyred for me. And so let me restate my first invitation. Follow me. And Peter follows him. And then we have this moment where he looks back and he sees John walking. We learn then that Peter and Jesus are shoulder to shoulder walking side by side, having this conversation with John is a few steps back. And he asks about John. And some of us think that Peter is saying, well, is he going to die too? Like there's jealousy or something. They're brothers. And they're going to start this journey together. Peter and John, Book of Acts, chapter 2, 3. They're going to start the journey together, the way Paul and Barnabas started their journey together, their missionary journey together. And I think he really is concerned. He wants to know. I think if Andrew had been there, you'd ask about Andrew. I think if James had been there, you'd ask about James. John was there. And John is his friend, is his brother, and he wants to know. And Jesus says, I'm not telling you. It's not your business. It's not your business what happens to him. You just follow me. And that's enough said. Okay. We're going to go to Acts chapter 1. We're going to see this man completely changed by this moment. And we'll talk about that next time. Thank you for joining What Is Now exactly 10 good minutes.